let's talk. Okay, I want you to do well on this quiz, so I need you to pay attention, Charles. Okay, so what is a W-4? Okay, so this allows your employer to take out correct federal income tax. What do you want? What's up?
Would you accept? I'm not talking to you. I see the W-2.
W-2 form. So that's when you get the form in January and it tells you all of your earnings, it tells you all of your deductions, all of that stuff. It's like all of your pay stubs on one paper. Does that make sense? Okay, great. No, you got to be specific because what's a 1040? It's another tax form, but it's actually where you do your reportings on those taxes. So like when you have sent off your W-2 and you've gotten all of your like investments and that kind of stuff, it's the form where you can calculate how much you're going to actually owe the government. So form where you calculate how much you owe. In taxes. We okay? You need to know those two definitions. W-4 and 1040. I'm going to show you later how to fill out a 1040. Yeah, it's not going to be super elaborate since y'all don't have investments. So gets a little bit more complicated the more stuff you got. All right, marginal tax rate. You need to have a little chart from your notes, probably pulled up. Okay, go ahead and find that. So you need your notes. Oh my gosh. Okay, so marginal tax rate is the percent bracket that you fall into. For instance, if Sarah makes $56,000, which tax bracket does she fall into? Okay, so that's her marginal rate. You'll have, I'll give you a green sheet and it has the same exact tax bracket. Okay. All right. What is her effective rate? Now, this is a little different. We're going to skip down to number 5 to figure out how much is due, and then we're going to go back to the effective rate. So on number 5, this is figuring out that calculation that we did yesterday. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to raise this up so the people in the back can actually see it. Okay. So you told me that she's in which marginal tax rate? 22%. Okay, so we're going to do the formula. So 0.22 times, parentheses, 56,000 minus, how much are we going to subtract off from that bracket? Look, say it again. 70, it should be 5. Is it 5.5? It's 6? I'm crazy. Okay, cool. All right, and then add what? How much do you add? Yes. 4,870. Okay, and look in that thing again. It says 76?
I thought it said 5.
I thought it was 5 too. For 22%. Here. Let me pull it up. I don't believe none of y'all. Okay, looking at this, it's 75. Is this? Yeah, okay, so you use this numbers because it's over that amount. Does that make sense? Okay, so coming back to here, this is 75. Okay, then you got add 4,807.50. Oh. Are we okay? Yeah. Okay, now you're going to take this and you're going to plug it into Desmos. Okay, and when you do that, you get 7,937. So 7,937. That's how much she owes. Maybe okay on that one. Okay. Her effective tax rate is you take this number that you just found, divide it by the total that she made, and multiply by 100. So go back in here, take what she owes out of her total that she makes, and multiply it by 100. So what do we get? We can say 14.2%. So 14.2%. That's her effective tax rate. So for my people who are visual learners, that means you take your tax due and divide it by your income. Okay. My people for marginal, this is going to go from the chart percent. And for tax due, you're going to take your percent times how much you make minus however much that owed. I'm going to say owed box. I don't know what else to call it. And then add on. Sure. Part 2. Does that make sense? Okay, I think the hardest part is actually coming up with the formula. I think we're okay on that. So like, I'm not giving you the form, I'm giving you the box with the information. Can you write that formula? Yeah. We okay? Okay. All right. Go ahead and look at the paycheck. Oh, I'm sorry. Piecewise. Oh, let me skip that. What does an open circle mean? Not equal to. So open circle, not equal to. We call this not inclusive. Okay. What does a closed circle mean? Equal to, or it is inclusive. It includes that number. For instance, if I had this little graph and and we learned yesterday about piecewise, got a dot here, open circle here, dot here. Okay. At x equals 2, what is the y value? At x equals 2, what's the y value? 3. Why is it 3 and not 1? Because, oh, okay, because it's a closed circle, right? Okay, so it's 3, not 1, because it's at a closed circle. You don't count the open circle. Does that make sense? Like if it did this, it would still be at 1. Whatever the filled in dot is, that's your answer. Okay? Okay? Eh? Eh? Okay. All right, let's look at paycheck. How do you figure out how much they're, or how often they're frequently paid? How frequently are they paid? Okay, so we look from the period from to the period through, right? So from this date to this date, how many days is that? Okay, so how many weeks is that? That's 2 weeks. Okay, so how often are they paid per month? Okay, bi-weekly. Does everybody see that? So I count the days and I go, hey, there's 7 days in a week. How many weeks is that? Now, sometimes people are paid monthly. So like teachers, we get paid at the very end of the month. We get paid on the last day of the month. Okay? Huh? We get paid every month on the last day of the month. one time. Okay. I do. Yeah, it's pretty nice. Cool. I get to pay all my bills. It's great. Okay, cool. All right. So make sure that you pay attention to it. Most of the time, if it's a pay stub, you're normally paid bi-weekly. Like if you work at a restaurant or something like that, it's normally bi-weekly. Okay. If not weekly, depending on the job. All right. Calculate the percentage of total pay wages that he pays in taxes. Okay. So going back to this, I'm going to leave this up on the board so you can see it. How much does he pay in taxes? Okay, so sometimes it'll have this listed here. Sometimes you might have your medical and health insurance and all that jazz like down there as well. So we got 203.22 out of how much does he make total? 1,011. Oh, I'm sorry, 1,100, right? So we're trying to figure out the percentage. So we're taking the taxes and dividing it by our total gross. Okay, so we're going to go into our calculator. 203.22 divided by, and we're going to multiply it by 100. So how much do we got? 18.5%. Okay, so this is your taxes divided by your gross pay.
Or will I have to?
So sometimes in deductions, you might have health insurance, dental insurance. You just got to read it. Add those up. Yes. Yep. Good. Okay. All right. Grant is paid $14 an hour and paid 2 times a month. If he works 37 hours a week, how much does he make on his paycheck? So we take how much he makes, so his rate. We're going to multiply it times how many hours he does. And then we're going to multiply it times 2 because that's how many weeks, right? Because it's paid 2 times a month. So that's bi-weekly. Okay. So his rate is 14. He's got 37 hours, and we're going to multiply by 2. So we're going to go in here. 14 times 37 times 2 makes 1,036.
I don't know.
No, this thing is old and like it kind of trips out occasionally. It like jumps. All right. Cheyenne makes $110,000 salary. Okay, salary means they get paid that throughout an entire year. Okay. Now, how much does she expect on her paycheck if she's paid twice a month? So first things first, we make 110,000 a year. How much do we make a month? So what would we do? Okay, so 110,000 divided by 12. What does that give me? Oh, y'all. Oh, I put enough zeros. JK. 9,166.67, right? Okay, make sure I do this right. 9,166.67. Good. Okay, now if we're gonna do it twice a month, so bi-weekly, we're going to divide it by 2. And what do you get? I got 4,583. You can do that. Yep. So I got 4,583 point something. 33. So what you got? Okay, so depending on how you rounded it here, you might have gotten 34. That's okay. Yep. Good. Questions? What are we still nervous about? Which questions are we still nervous about?
I think it's like I think it should remembering all the different types. It's like all the different questions say that something different. It's like four different points that we have to remember. Just like remember which questions go into which one. Yeah, like if you give us like the weekend to study, you just give it.
We have a quiz on Tuesday, yo. Over 3.3. I'm just telling you how this goes. All right. Question on 345. Are we okay on how to set that up? Okay, so what do we do with marginal tax? Use a percentage table, right? Okay, how do we find how much tax is due?
And then, okay. Divided by times one, divided by the income, divided by the.
Okay, so percentage. Let's do simple. Okay, so percentage times how much money you make minus how much the table money states, add the table money that it states.
So we can't do
Right. So you got to do this first. You got to do the how much tax is due. And then your effective tax rate is whatever this is divided by your income. Multiply by 100, right? Because it's a percentage. Are we okay on 2, 3, 4, 5? Okay. Yes, ma'am. I'm giving you that table. That's what you get. I'm gonna look at that. The one to the right. That table. Okay. Good. Okay. All right. What about piecewise? If I say all you're doing is I give you an X value, you tell me what the Y value is. That's it. Like if I say, hey, at okay, at X equals 3, what's my Y value? What's my Y value? Okay, pause again. X equals 3. What's my Y value? 1. It's wherever that Y part crosses. You must look for the closed circle, not the open circle. That's the biggest thing with piecewise. Like that's the only option?
It is nothing.
And it wouldn't be a piecewise that's built correctly for our class. Yep. Yes. Okay. What about paychecks? You can tell how frequently they're paid. Okay. What about calculating the percentage of total paid wages that he pays in taxes? So this is taxes divided by his wages. Taxes divided by gross pay. Okay. Now looking at number 8. Looking at number 8. What formula are we going to use for this? Okay. All right. What about 9? Given salary. And then do what? Why are we dividing by 2? Okay. If I was paid 4 times a month. Okay, cool. Does everybody understand?
With the exact same numbers.
Oh my God, Charles. Whenever they take out taxes, it's kind of like, where do they spend that money? Because there's still like potholes in Atlanta and like, that kind of stuff. So, the U.S. Treasury divides all federal spending into 3 groups. So we've got mandatory spending, and it's ongoing and does not change unless prior legislation changes. So, specific funds that it goes towards, and we're going to look at that breakdown in just a second. And then we've got discretionary spending, which is voted on in the annual appropriations process. And then you got interest on debt. So interest paid on federal debt. I don't know if you know this, but our government is in a lot of debt. Yeah. You didn't know that? Oh, okay, good. All right. So with that being said, they're having to pay back their debts of money that they borrowed from various countries, things, and stuff. Okay. So looking at these breakdowns, it actually gives you like the little chart. I know this is kind of challenging to see. You can go to this website. I think they're on that website. If they're not, I'm going to try to make this a little bit bigger so you can see them. Maybe not. I might not have that option. Yeah. Okay, there we go. Yes, we can see now. Okay. So we've got federal spending for the fiscal year of 2021. Okay, you've got discretionary and then you got mandatory. So mandatory is majority of the stuff. Okay, so it's kind of like already automated. Discretionary is going to be a little bit. Don't have a whole lot of things that you have to vote on. Okay, so mandatory spending. That's like Medicare and health, Social Security, unemployment and labor. Okay, food, agriculture, education, government, veterans benefits, transportation, housing and community, military, international affairs, energy and environment, and science. Okay, are any of those surprising to you? Or does that seem pretty realistic? Okay, this seems like what keeps us like kind of our world spinning, right? Now, discretionary, kind of same categories. But they can give a little bit more money in specific places. So 2021, were we in a war in 2021? Were we? Okay, we don't know something. What do we do? Google it. Okay. I think we like pulled out of Afghanistan. Was the US at war in 2021? War in Afghanistan. Okay. So this was when like they pulled them out, right? Okay. Might have been a little bit after that, but that's okay. But then we've also done the whole like Ukraine Russia thing, right? And then we've got like a little couple other things that we like to stick our noses into. Okay, but we spend a lot of money on military. It takes a lot, right? You got to pay the people, you got to have, all the aircrafts, all the weaponry, all that kind of stuff, right? You know what blows my mind though? Look at your education. You see that little piece? That little orange piece right there? That's education. So from the discretionary spending pie chart, estimate how many times education spending would have to be increased to equal the amount of military spending. So for this to fill up this area, how many times would I have to multiply over? Be about 4 times. So 4 times. Our military gets 4 times the amount that education does. Wild. Okay. Now, what is the largest part of mandatory spending? Social Security. What else? Medicare and unemployment. Something to think about. When you are paying your taxes, you are paying for somebody else to not work. How do you feel about that? You don't like that? Okay. So, and there's a lot, I think it's like 15% is on unemployment. 15% of the population is on unemployment. So you're working, you're paying taxes, so you don't get to keep that money, but you had to work for that money, and you're paying for somebody else to live. How do you feel? It's not a whole lot. It's not a whole lot. But think about how many people are on it, though. That's questionable, right? Okay. Social Security, that's retirement stuff. You kind of have to pay for your old people, right? Like they pay their dues, right? Okay. Medicare, kind of same thing. Okay. All right. Looking at the next part. Okay. I know you hate graphing. I know you hate graphing. Welcome to 3.3. Okay. So, we did skip the whole like filling in the taxes thing. I want to come back to it and actually spend time on it where we're not freaking out about a quiz or anything. Okay. So, okay. back in algebra, you learned all of these key characteristics. Okay, I'm going to try to break them down. We're going to focus on the left-hand side first. Okay, minimum. That means that it's sloping down, right? Like it looks like in minimum, you have this U, right? So it's going to have this little slope. I can't draw a straight line to save anything. There we go. Okay. This minimum is down here. A maximum is when we're going to have like a hill, right? This is a max. This is a min. If you didn't know that, draw that down. Okay. Local minimums, okay, are going to be the little swoops. Technically, this is an absolute minimum. Absolute minimum. But for right now, we're just going to call it a local minimum. Okay. So you're going to state the location. Hey, yeah. Okay. All right. So, local minimum is going to be 1 comma -6 and -2 comma 3. Okay, keep me on track because like my eyesight on this is a little rough. I know it is a little skewed from the lines. We're going to do approximation. So if it's close to that line, we're just going to say it's that whole number. Okay. Local maximum. So when it's at the top of the hill, so that's going to be -1, 4. Okay. And there's no other maxes. We okay? Okay. All right. Domain. Tell me what my domain is. All right. How'd you know? Okay. So from -infinity to +infinity, or also known as all real numbers. I'll take both. You got one question right. Get off. Dude, it's gonna be all over the floor. Okay, range.
-6 to +1.
Oh, y'all aren't terrible at this. Okay. So range is from the lowest, which is -6, to the highest, which is +infinity. So you go low to high. Okay, so domain, it's kind of like you go left to right. And then range is from lowest to highest. Does that make sense? Good? Okay. All right, hope you have that down because I'm about to do the next part. All right, so intervals of increase and decrease. If you're a visual person, hopefully this will help. Increase is when it's going to go up. Ooh, I need a bigger line. Okay, increase is when it's going to go up. And decrease is when it's going to go down. I shouldn't use orange. That's a bad decision. Blue. When it goes down. Okay? And you're reading it from left to right. So just like how you read in like a book, you go from left to right. Okay? So increase, we're going to go from left to right. What is our X value? -2 to -1. Here's another interval of increase. We go from, no, 1 to +infinity. 1 to +infinity. If we have two different intervals, we're going to put a U in between them. That means the union of those two things. Okay, it's just basically our fancy way in math to say and. Okay. All right, if we were trying to do decrease, again, we're going to go left to right. So what's the farthest left X value for here? -infinity. So when does it stop? -2. And then we have another one from -1 to 1. -1 to 1. Don't look at your Y values. We're looking at our X. The way I think of this is if I were going to Six Flags and I'm going to get on Goliath, how would I describe the ups and downs to somebody? I would say within the first 10 seconds, it goes up, it's increasing. The next 2 seconds, it's decreasing. Does that make sense? The seconds represent the X values. Cool. All right. Okay. The next one is in behavior. In behavior is different from intervals of increase and decrease. Okay. So as x is approaching positive infinity, is that the first one or is it negative? Okay, I'm sorry. As x is approaching negative infinity. So if you were standing at 0, 0, move to the left, where are our y values going? Okay, so y is going to positive infinity. Okay, as we move to the right, so as we go to positive infinity, so as we go this way, where are our y values going? Okay, so in those blanks, you're putting infinity and infinity. When you think of in behavior, it's as if you're standing in the middle and you're looking to the left and looking to the right, and you're telling me which way they're going. Good? Okay. I can't tell if I'm getting blank stares and like, y'all got this, or like blank stares and we don't got it. Yeah, same. All right, x-intercept is where it crosses the x-axis. So we got this guy right here, and we got this guy right here. So we got 0, 0, and we have 1.5 comma 0. The y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. Sometimes the x-intercept and the y-intercept are the same. So this crosses the y-axis at 0, 0. Questions? Okay, can you do the next one? Math be mathin'. All right, what's the local minimum? Okay, so say words again. -1, -8. Oh, okay. I thought somebody said -3. I was like, I don't think that's right. Okay, -1, -8. And what else? 2, 2, and no, 2 and -5. We're doing great. Okay, maximum.
1.5 to negative 1.25 and then 25 to negative
0.5 and -1.5. See, he was wrong. Could have gotten Skittles. All right, so Maine, what's the x values? All real numbers, negative infinity to positive infinity. All right, range, what's the lowest y value? -8 to positive infinity. Okay, intervals of increase. So that's going to be -1 to 0.5, and then from 2 to positive infinity. Decrease is going to be from negative infinity to -1, and then from 0.5 to 2. Say it again. Sorry. We want to use the x values because you're telling me when it goes up and when it goes down. Yep. All right. Now, as x decreases, what's happening to our y values? They're increasing, or also known as going to infinity. Those are the same thing. As x increases, it's still increasing, and it's going to infinity. Okay? Determine the x-intercept. Where does it cross the x-axis? And you can kind of like guesstimate on this one. Huh? And 2.5. I'll take that. If you put -1.75, that's okay too. Okay? The y-intercept, 0, -3. Okay? Biggest mistake that people make on this is they just put one number instead of an actual location. You got to do both. You got to put both the x and y. Okay? Flip the page. Okay, now we're putting into context. So what I want you to do really quick is read over that problem. Read over that problem. Okay. If I graphed it, this is what it would look like. Okay. What's going to be the domain for this? Okay. What do the X values represent in context? It says T is years. Okay. So T is years. Can we have negative years? Okay. So where is it going to start? Okay. So from 0 to what? To infinity. Yep. Thought y'all would finish that. All right. Range. What is our lowest Y value? Mm, negative, negative 2 point something. Negative 3 point, I'm sorry, yeah. Negative 3.0792. Negative 3.0792. And how high does it go? Infinity, right? Okay, so when you draw your sketch of this graph, again, it just has to be a sketch. You want to start at 0. So the up, down, and then it keeps going on. Now, what years did the company have negative worth, net worth? From 2 to 4 years. Do we see why? So from 2 to 4 years, the company was negative net worth. Everybody see it? Okay, hardest part with in context problems is understanding the concept of your domain is probably going to be restricted because we're talking about time. There are some instances where it might say prior to this date, this start date, then we would have negative time on the function. Okay. Hopefully we're gonna run into one of those. All right, number 2, many businesses know that most consumers associate price with quality. An actuary at a cosmetics manufacturer determined that the profit made, the price charged for lipstick at a particular retail outlet could be modeled by this equation, where P is the price in dollars and V of P is the amount earned by the retail store selling just a lipstick in a month. How much should the store charge to maximize its profits? Okay, first thing, we got a graphic. Whenever you're given an equation, you're going to want to change the variable to X whenever you type it in. Because if you put P, it's not going to work. Okay, we want to maximize our profit. That's a weird looking graph, right? Okay, so what does P represent? Price of the lipstick. What is V of P? So what's our Y values represent? Say words again. Okay, and we want to know how much we should charge for the lipstick to make the maximum amount. So we want to look at the maximum amount, right? Okay, looking at this graph, we can't use anything that's on this side, right, of the y-axis, because that would be negative lipstick charge, right? So we want to look on this side. We're going to look at the highest y value. Highest y value is 758.21. So how much should we charge for the lipstick? So 15.26. Okay. So we would want to charge $15.26. All right, go ahead and read number 3. Hopefully I typed that correctly. I don't think I did because I'm not checking out. No. Oh, there it is. Yes. There. Good. Weird looking graph. Yeah. Okay. So we got a hybrid car's fuel economy depends on how fast the car is moving. The following polynomial model is reasonable, accurate from 20 to 90 miles per hour. What speeds between 20 and 90 miles per hour would maximize the fuel economy? So what does S represent? Or what does our X represent? Speed. Okay, the speed. And then what does our Y values represent? Fuel economy. So we're going to maximize it. We're going to look at the maximized, and then we're going to look at our X value. You see how I did that? And that's going to be at 71 miles per hour. Our fuel economy is going to be at 48.6. So the answer would be 71 miles per hour, maximize to 48.6 miles per gallon. Again?
356.
Awesome. Okay, pause. That is your maximum. I was like, dang, that thing's been killing it. 78 miles per hour. All right, so 66.17, or you can say 0.2 to get 35 miles to the gallon. That's more reasonable because that was going to be crazy, right? Okay, Tuesday. This stuff. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, but like,